Okay, so good morning, everyone, and welcome to another session. It's a side chat for the month of September. Yeah, it's September, and I welcome everyone. School has resumed, activities are ongoing, the children are all settled in. I want to say welcome for joining us on this particular session today. We are going to have a panel discussion, and it's an interesting topic. It is things I wish I knew or did differently in secondary school. We are having panelists that will be joining us to share their journey and provide us with more insights about this topic. So please do well to listen. If you have questions, you drop it down in the comment section. And also maybe when it's the time for question and answer, we'll give you the opportunity to ask your questions. So we'll be going over to recognizing students and schools that are present. Could see that we have Damipe Oloyede. You only stated your street. We would like to know the name of your school. You said you're in JS2. Welcome. Thank you for joining in. We have Oreoluwa Adenipekun. You said you're at home, you're in JS1. We also like to know your school. We have Fagba, GS3, Sapphire, I guess that's the name of your school. Thank you for joining in. Larry Olorunyomi, you are in SS1. We'll still also like to know the name of your school. Similoluwa Adenipekun. Thank you for joining in. Ololade Olorunyomi. Thank you for joining in. Yanu Oluwakoka. Please, when you would like your name, the name of your school, and the class you're in, I think it will be better that way, so that when we are recognizing you, we know where you are joining us from. So thank you all for joining in. Dancer School is here. We are grateful for always being part of this program. I could see Ayomide from Dancer High School and some parents. Thank you for joining in, and we hope to have a very engaging session. Also, I would like to welcome our panelists who are here. Thank you for joining in. So my name is Salome Isaiah. I am the program and administrative manager for, administrative and program manager for JUICE Africa. And I'll be your host today. So thank you everyone for joining in, and quickly we would kick off. So one question we always like to ask is, what do you want to be when you grow up? You know, the reason why we're in JUICE is for teenagers, for children 9 to 17, to help them define their career paths early enough. And one of the questions that children are frequently asked is, what do you want to be when you grow up? So this question is a very interesting one, because you find out that you ask a child today, what do you want to be when you grow up? He tells you, oh, I want to be a doctor. You ask him tomorrow, because there's something fascinating about what he had seen of recent. He may tell you, oh, I want to be a dancer. I want to be a this. I want to be a that, you know, and there are different answers at different stages. So here we want teenagers to be able to define their career path enough and work towards it. It's something that we are very passionate about with Ada Okeke, Adeze Okeke, who is our founder. She's very passionate about it, to help children career path early enough, and that is why we are here. So these programs are all packaged so that at the end of it, these children will be one step to being cleared or having a clear vision of what they want to do. And that is why we are here at Juice Africa. So I want to say welcome for joining, and I hope that at the end of this session, you will be more clear, or you will be one step to being very clear or very decisive about what you want to be. So I'm going to introduce Juice Africa to you, what we do, and why we do what we do. So firstly, I'm going to mention that there are a lot of career exposure deficits in Nigeria. Many Nigerian kids, like I stated earlier on, have no idea of the range of courses. We are used to the traditional courses of medicine, engineering, being a lawyer, and all that. But they are not, they don't have in-depth knowledge about even some of these traditional professions. There's a lot of career exposure deficit, and with this deficit has an impact in the quality of decision these teenagers, these young children make. And we are here. That is why we always have the career spotlight sessions. We have the fireside chats. We have career fairs. We have the internship and open day. All these are to expose young children to diverse professions and their career paths through these talks, so that it can help them, define what they want to do, give them in-depth knowledge about the area or the career they want to, the path they want to tread. Also, we have the career mentorship deficit. A lot of children were not mentored. They didn't have proper guidance, maybe because of the limited forum which these young children could have access to. You understand that when these children have a question, they don't know who to provide the answer. They don't have where to go to, maybe they want to study a particular course. They just know that, we have this course, there's a medicine, but they don't have someone that will guide them properly on, these are the things that this particular course of study entails and all that. So there is a mentorship deficit. And that is where we come in with a career mentor-mentee initiative, where we give young children the opportunity to have close contact with young professionals, ask questions, and define their career paths. Also, we have the lack of college and university preparation programs. A lot of children just know that, maybe at SS2, I have to start preparing for your WAEC, NECO, JAMB, even if you want to study abroad, the SAT, the GT, and all that. But there is no proper guidance, in this preparation, it's good that from as early as possible, they have in mind the requirements, what it needs to, not just for what they want to study, but the requirements of those institutions that they intend to study and all that. So these preparation programs are some of the things Juice Africa has come up with to guide these young ones on how to prepare early enough for university, for college, and advocate early enough for children to start preparing towards their college and university days, And that is why we came up with the Juice University Preparation Program. So all these are part of the things Juice is set out to achieve. And we cannot do that alone. That is why we need everyone on board for this, because our vision is to see a Nigeria where our children's paths are intentionally thought through, developed, and chosen, exposing children to as many career paths as possible, and by this, they are equipped with the right tools, both academic and non-academic, which is needed to arrive at their desired careers. Simply to build a future where the child the purpose is intentionally thought through. That is the thing those are the things that Jews are out to do, with purpose, clarity, and intentionality. That is just about what we do. And we can't do this alone. We need parents, teachers, educators, counselors, young professionals to be part of this vision. So how do you come in is a question that we're asking now. So one of the ways you can come in is attending our events every 2 weeks. We have our events, our careers presentations, our fireside chats on different engaging topics every 2 weeks, every Saturday, twice in a month. You can also do that by connecting with our social media handles. You share our content with your friends, your network, so that we can reach our target audience. Also, you can become a member with Juice. How do you become a member? You can bring in your expertise. There are lots of things we do, and you can come in to be a member to share your journey, your insights, and also become part of.
Yes, sir.
Please mute your mic. Okay. Also, you can become a mentor. Like we said, we have our mentor-mentee program. You can come in to become a mentor, to mentor kids on their different areas of interest. You can become a sponsor. We have our different programs. You can partner with us in maybe providing a juice hub, reaching out to other teenagers. There are a lot of things you can do. You can also become a career partner. You become a career partner to help these children, these teenagers in achieving what we have set out to do. And most importantly is to tell others about Juice. You have friends, you have teenagers around you, you have networks. Tell a teenager about Juice. Tell a parent about Juice. Tell an educator about Juice. Tell your friends about Juice, and most importantly, connect a teenager to Juice today. It is very important. Those are the ways you can come in to help us achieve what we have set out to do. So having said this, we are going to dive in straight into the business of today, which is discussing with our panelists on things I wish I knew and did differently in secondary school. So I'm going to hand over to Ada to introduce our panelists, and we'll take off from there. Over to you, Ada.
Thank you, Salome. Thank you for a really good intro into Juice and what we do. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see quite a nice turnout for today. So thank you, students that are here today. No matter what you do today, please just make sure you listen, make sure you're paying attention, make sure you have that you plan to ask, or questions or thoughts that you plan to share with the mentors, and we're here to guide you. Please, next slide. That's okay. Okay, so I'm going to be introducing the panelists today, one after the other. If it's okay to ask everyone to mute once they join the call. For some reason, I'm not able to mute everyone automatically. And when you don't mute, you disrupt the call. So please, let's try to mute as we join the call. Okay, so I'm going to be introducing the panelists for today. One thing Salome mentioned is that Juice aims to connect young professionals to secondary school students, right? So the idea is that we want secondary school students to have, professionals currently in the game. They can ask questions, they can get insight from, they can ask, if I want to study this course, if I want to be this X thing, what course do I need to study in uni? What subjects do I need to take for JAM? What do I need to take seriously? You know, those types of questions. We want real-time guidance and real-time support. And we have an incredible panel for you here today. We have Oluwatoyin Akindele. She's a communications and marketing specialist. She's worked in one of the top banks in Nigeria and also works in one of the top insurance companies currently in Nigeria. She studied electronic engineer. No, that's sorry. She studied communications, I believe, at Covenant University. If I'm wrong, please correct me when you introduce yourself. She's my best friend, so she's going to be very upset if I'm wrong. But yeah, so and she's Toyin is excellent at, you know, in terms of what she's interested in. She's excellent in DIY projects, so anything to do with her hands, anything to do with her fingers, she's great at that. So yeah, welcome Toyin, and thank you for being here today, and thank you for sharing your thoughts in advance with us. I'm just going to pick up my phone and read through bios so that I don't butcher anyone's life experience. But then next on the list, we have Presley. Presley is a financial consultant or risk management consultant currently based in the UK. He has over 6 years experience in financial services, and he's a graduate of electronics and computer engineering from University of Lagos. And for hobbies, he enjoys football, he enjoys video games, and he enjoys Scrabble. So thank you, Presley, for being here. And yeah, we're excited to hear from you. And last but definitely not the least, we have another very exciting career professional. We have Queen. Sorry, this is a mistake. Her name is Queen, not Somcho. Queen is a senior policy advisor. She works she's also based in the UK. She spearheads policy reforms in housing, workplace, and environmental and human rights related causes. She has an LLM in constitutional and human rights law. And also she's a mental health lawyer in the UK and in Nigeria. Actually, just to share that Queen does a lot of mental health focused initiatives in Nigeria and in the UK. I've been on a few of her panels, and she is an incredibly exciting person to have on the panel. She studied law at 3 universities here, University of Calabar, University of Nasarawa, and she studied law at University of Calabar and Nasarawa State University, and she also, her LLM is from the University of Law, United Kingdom. And I know, just on a personal basis, what she loves doing is traveling. Queen loves to travel and, you know, have new experiences and have a good time. So we're really excited to have Queen here today. Apologies, Queen, for the mistake in your name. And yeah, we're going to jump right into the conversation. And just to mention, the style of the conversation would be that we would ask questions of our speakers, and they're going to then, you know, share with us their answers and their thoughts. And of course, students, when you're listening, students or parents or anyone here, if you're listening and you have questions or thoughts, please drop them in the chat. You don't have to wait till the end of the session. At the end of the session, we have about 20 minutes dedicated to questions from the students. But please, you don't need to wait till the end of the session. You can always start dropping your questions in the chat, and we would either get one of the speakers to answer, or we will answer in the chat. Just to introduce the topic for today, it says, things I wish I knew / did differently in secondary school. And why is this topic important, right? There's a saying that says, hindsight is, you know, everything. If many of us could go back now into it, knowing what we know now, go back to our past, I'm sure many of us will do things differently. And not because we have regrets or any of those things. It's just when when you know better, you do better, right? So we really think that instead of us carrying these things and say, oh, I could have done that or done that, it's really important to also then share some of these things with the current secondary school students so that potentially they could do things differently, they could have better insights, you know, they could also channel their careers better. And even if Juicy is very specific on career education, we're very also passionate about building young secondary school students who are holistic, right? So you're great in your academics, you're great at sports, you're great at every element of life, because really, if you're trying to then secure a career in some of the top careers in the future, you're going to need to be a rounded person. You're not going to just be smart and get 50 A1s every term. You're going to need to be rounded and to be, you know, all of these other things. So we really want to promote that here at Juice today. So I'm going to stop speaking and I'm going to hand back to Salome to anchor the questions and answer session today. So thank you everyone for being on the call, and I hope you have a great time. Thanks. Bye. Salome, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Ada. So, Tony, welcome. Presley, welcome. Queen, welcome.
Salome,
this topic is a very...
Salome, just to interrupt you, please, you could stop sharing your screen so that the speakers are just highlighted, and that's all we're saying, so that there's more interaction with the speakers. So you can stop sharing your screen for now, if that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So, things I wish I knew or did differently in secondary school is a very interesting topic, and everyone can relate to it. So without wasting much of our time, I know Ada has introduced you all, but I'd just like you all to just say one thing Ada has not mentioned about yourself. So I'm going to start with Tony, then Presley, then we'll go to Queen. Just one thing Ada has not mentioned about yourselves. Something interesting, something intriguing, just anything that comes to mind. Yeah.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Jules, for having me here. So, and that has actually helped me with this question. One thing she didn't mention was I studied management information system, not elect.
Okay, thank you very much, Presley.
Hi, guys. Hi, everyone. I think one thing about me that she did not mention, I have a thing for languages. So aside English, I speak French, and I'm also planning to learn some other languages. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Queen.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I think I don't really do justice to my own profile, but something I should mention is that I like to be called Queen Ekanem, especially on platforms. Then unofficially, you can just call me Queen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Queen. So we are diving straight to the questions. And my first question would be, what is one thing you wish you knew or did differently in secondary school that would have prepared you better for life after school? One thing. And I will I'll start with Queen this time around, and I'll go to Presley, then to Tony. Over to you, Queen.
It's a very interesting question. But you see, for me, I don't think that there's anything I could have done differently per se. Not because, and not to say that things went all smooth, but to say that for me, back in secondary school, I didn't know so much. As an aspirant, I wasn't so aware of my environment. I wasn't so aware of what I wanted to do. And I think it just goes back to the fact that for one, I'd always just wanted to make friends and just be happy. So that's what I thought life was all about. You know, I mean, and I'd gone on like that for so long until I think it was when I was done with secondary school that just when I was about leaving secondary school, that reality started to dawn on me. But when I look back now, I think I can really connecting the dots in the sense that not that. So I feel like, so I could also say that, yes, mentorship would have helped me a lot with just having that refined idea or sense of purpose. But again, I don't know, because with the situation of things and how I grew up, I really doubt that even if I had that at the time, I would have had a change of mind or purpose. But I'd known that I just wanted to be a communication specialist. When I say communication specialist, not in the sense of just doing it for work, but doing it to help people's well-being, live better lives. And in some sort of way, I've just found a way to put it around my career. In mental health, for example, now that I do a lot in mental health. Everything I do as a senior policy advisor in housing, for example, housing has had a lot to connect with well-being. And so all these things are just ended up connecting the dots to everything that I had to do with life. So yeah, I would just say that maybe the mentorship would have really helped me, but at the time I didn't know so much. So yeah, I don't know if I've answered your question, but
Okay, so you wish you were mentored. That's something you would have done differently. Maybe having to be mentored, in secondary school. Okay, so before we proceed, because because of the time constraints and everything, we would like to keep the answers a bit shorter to maximize time because we have 3 panels. So over to you, Presley.
Thank you very much. So I think for me, looking back at my secondary school years, I think maybe what I would have done differently, or if I had known what I know now, I'll probably have been more intentional about making like-minded friends. And because definitely as you grow older, it becomes kind of difficult to make friends that are like on the same wavelength as you. So I think that's one thing I would have done differently. And I think another thing is be more engaging in other activities. It's not really about, fine, it's good to focus on your studies, focus on your academics, but you should also, I wish I had engaged in a lot of like extracurricular activities, and it all boils down to building your social skills. Because by the time you are getting into university, for example, or getting into the job market, it's not just about what you know. It's also about your people skills. How do you interact with your bosses? How do you interact with your colleagues? How do you interact with your clients? Even down to getting a job, you could be like the smartest person in the room, but a lot of organizations, they also assess your people skills. Like, okay, yes, are you a right fit for our organization? How would you be able to sway our clients? And all those kind of so I think that's another thing I would have done differently. And I'm speaking from personal experience because it kind of like took me a while building those skills in like my adult years. So yeah, so that's it for me.
Okay, thank you very much. Tony, please.
Yeah, so one thing I wish I did or knew earlier was I wish I knew I wasn't going to end up in a science-related field. When we were growing up, the only courses or the only field we were familiar with were medicine, law, accounting, and engineering. So then when you ask me, what do you want to be in future? I mentioned elect. But applying for elect and getting into the university, I didn't get the course. And for my first year, I struggled a lot because I wasn't just serious because I got management information system. And I wasn't just serious because I felt this wasn't what I wanted to do. But along the line, I found out management information system was even more exciting than elect. So I wish we knew there were other interesting courses like marketing, software development that we could go for as opposed to the ones we knew. Also, I also wish I learned how to save from an early age, learn to be financially prudent because it would have shaped me for the future and all, because it's quite difficult trying to learn how to save at your old age. And also, yes, those were the things I wish I did earlier, learning how to save, most especially because I wasn't so prudent then. And I'm struggling now because I'm used to the enjoyment and soft life.
Okay. Well, the soft life is also good. Everybody wants a soft life, you know. So, yeah. So, yeah, you mentioned, like Queen mentioned, mentorship. You also mentioned career exposure. If you had known about more courses aside the traditional one we knew, if you're in the science class, medicine, engineering, if you're in the art class, law, and all that. So if you were exposed better, more, if you had more career exposure, you wouldn't have delved into going for the that's electrical engineering. Yeah. So coming to Presley, I think I will ride off on one of the things he said to ask the next question. He talked about something he would have done differently, of maybe having friends of like minds. I want to ask you, Presley, and also before we proceed to other questions. So what kind of friends did you have? Because for you to have a friend, there must be something that connects you and that friend. So if you're talking of light mind, I want you to explain better. Let's understand what you would have done differently when you talk about light minds. Over to you, Presley.
Sure. Yeah. So speaking of friends with being intentional with making friends with like-minded friends, I can say for now that my closest friends, even up to now, are friends that I made in secondary school. But obviously, they are not as much as I would have liked it to be, in the sense that I probably would have been intentional with mingling with more people that were like career focused, or they had their thing together. So I wasn't like I think in secondary school, I wasn't like the most brilliant guy in the room, but at least I was doing well. I was more better than the average student. And it's a thing of where we saw those most brilliant people as some type of way, right? And you rather roll with the people that are, in quotes, maybe playful, or because then again, we're kids, we're not so much thinking about the future. We're always thinking about the present, what we wanted to do at the moment. And so it's now like, oh, if you had known then, you probably would have made friends with these more brilliant people. That's why I say be intentional about those friendships, because those are the kind of people that would actually motivate you to do better, right? It's fine if because when you are within a friendship group where you are like the, in quote, the smartest person, you probably tend to become complacent. You tend to just be laxed. So it's more of setting a higher standard for yourself in everything you do, so including your friendship. So if you identify someone that is better than you, more brilliant than you, it might not be in all aspects, but if there's a particular subject, for example, that this person knows it better than you, by all means, walk out to that person, make friends with that person, interact with that person, and set those targets for yourself. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Presley. Yeah, so to be clear, so we have to be intentional about the kind of friends we make.
Yep.
Like-minded friends help you maybe grow further because you share ideas and you improve.
Yep.
Thank you very much. So, and I know you also mentioned something about skills, so it's going to drive my next question. So what do you think, what are the skills or knowledge you think were not adequately emphasized in secondary school? And how have you had to bridge those gaps? So I'll go with Presley, then Queen and Tony. Yeah.
Okay. So I think the overarching one for me would be public speaking. I don't know if there are still things like debate clubs in secondary schools anymore, but you get to find out that kids that were so intentional about things like debates later on in life, they are very, very comfortable interacting in different social circles. They can mingle, they can go with the flow in whatever crowd, they can address a large number of people and they would not fret, right? So just going back, if I had my way, I would have done a lot of extracurricular activities like joining a debate club, for example, because this like builds your confidence. Like I said, it's one thing to know your stuff, it's one thing to be smart, and it's another thing to communicate what's in your head, right? And by the time you are going into, even when you're in university, you get to do things like project defense, where you would have to like stand in front of the students and your lecturers and you need to present your project. You might have done a very good project, but if you cannot present it very well, it becomes a problem, right? And even when you are now in the job market, for example, you could pass all the job tests and everything, which was a problem for me earlier when I was job searching. I was very good at passing the job tests. I think probably 95% of all the job tests that I wrote, I passed them. But when you are now getting into the interview stage and you are now getting to face like an interview panel, that was where I was always getting caught off, because you get in front of people, you start to fidget, you start to fret. And so I had to be like very, very intentional. That's why I said it's quite difficult for you to learn these skills in your adult age, because it's easier when you're younger. Let me just put it like that. So I had to like be very, very intentional. I had to like join public speaking clubs, going over on YouTube, just trying to like see how public speakers do it, like the tips and all. And I think that helped me. But if I had started way earlier, I think it would have been like a smooth ride for me. So
okay. Yes.
yeah.
Okay. So I knew back then in secondary school there were debate clubs, there were different clubs, social clubs, but I know that it wasn't really compulsory. I think it was you being interested, but that means it's something schools have to be intentional about, right? Yes, as in to ensure that, okay, understanding a child and what the capacity of the child, and guide and direct the child to some of these clubs that could build the person further, right?
Yeah, sure.
I think it helps. Okay, so over to Queen Dantoy.
Okay, so just to reiterate, I want to be sure that I'm getting the question right. Is this question for the kind of clubs you should join when you're in secondary school? Skills. Okay.
Yes, so, skills and knowledge.
So first thing I would say is once you know what you love to do, and when I say love to do in a way that will also be beneficial to someone else, then it's also important to find social activities that relate to those things you love. So for example, for me, I know I've always loved seminars. I've always loved attending sessions, like hearing the life stories of people, because those are things that motivate me to do better, and also to see that life is not that heavy. Because if someone had gone through this path and succeeded, then I can do it too. So one of the things that my mom did for me then, usually was during holidays, I would attend the Children of Focus. It was just a program that you just get to mingle with students from other secondary schools, for example. Then you do some of schoolwork, and then some other sessions would be more of like mentoring, motivation, just sharing life stories, and which was very helpful for me at the time. And then again, for me, I loved a lot of literature. So I also had to join a poetry club, which really helped me with my writing. And then we also had, just gleaning on what Presley had mentioned, debate clubs. Debate clubs was another club that was so helpful. And then there's one that is so popular now, they call it Toastmasters. I don't know if people in secondary school can be a part of it, but it really does help with public speaking, because I believe that no matter how much you know, if you can't communicate it, it's going to be very difficult to, like Presley has said, if you don't know how to communicate your needs or your knowledge, then it's only good enough for you only. So yeah, clubs are very beneficial in this regard.
Okay, thank you very much. Toyin, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so for me, I would say the skills that were not really taught in school were almost all soft skills were not taught in school. And I wish they were, because, for instance, emotional intelligence, how to navigate and how to respond to people, public speaking and savings also. So I was very shy, extremely shy and timid in school. Even amongst my mates, my classmates, you wouldn't hear my voice. I'm sure most people in my set now would see me doing this and they would be shocked that, so this girl can speak. I was extremely shy. And it kind of gave me some sort of low self-esteem. I wasn't able to present myself. Even when people are saying things, I'm just in my own space. But around my friends, I was extremely comfortable. So that's to show that there was a problem in the way I could relate to people in public and all. Also, for savings, I wish those were skills that were taught, financial literacy were taught then in school. I'm happy they teach them now, and there are partnerships with some organizations that do that now, but then I couldn't even save. Ada could save anything savable. We even used to give Ada our pocket money and provisions to save for us, and she would write down your name, which is a skill because I can't do it for myself. She would write down your name and she would say you collected this amount today, and you must tell her what you want to use that money for. If it's for food or something, she would tell you, go to the dining hall and eat. Even to bucket water, it was as bad as I was always having typhoid in school, and my parents would bring bottled water for me, and I would still share out that bottled water and fall sick again. Till Ada took the water and said, when you want to drink, come and meet me, I would give you. So, and I'm sure it has helped her up until this stage now to save, because she's in a different country now. Ada has been living in a different country since her undergraduate days, and she has been able to navigate herself around that. Unlike me living in Nigeria, and at the beginning years of my career, I was struggling really hard. I was well paid, but my salary didn't seem enough for me because I couldn't save. Then also when I started working, I transitioned into marketing and communications, which means you have to communicate, you have to speak with people. And I noticed when I'm speaking with people, my voice is shaking. I didn't have that confidence. Public speaking was a problem for me. So I wish those were skills that were taught: emotional intelligence, public speaking, and savings, generally soft skills, how to navigate life.
Well, thank you very much, Tony. Yeah. So students in the house, hope you're listening attentively. These are things that you would do so that you don't, in the future, you don't say, oh, I wish I did this differently while I was in school. What we are trying to do here is to ensure that the mistakes or the things we would have done years ago, it's not being repeated to you, the younger generation, as there is no time. The world is evolving. There's no time to make such huge mistake and live in regrets. That is why this program is designed for you. Thank you very much. So to the next question. Were there any teachers, in secondary school, there were teachers that maybe you liked or you loved the way the person carried themselves, the way the teacher did things? Were there teachers, maybe secondary school, who significantly impacted in your life or career trajectory? and how did they influence you? I would like to know. So I'm going to start with Queen, then to Tony, and then to Presley. Yeah.
So to be very honest with you, that's something I would really want to have, because I cannot practically say that I had a good role model in my secondary school. Because first thing is that the secondary school I attended, it wasn't one of the best secondary schools, I must say. But I would still speak to two teachers who were the ones who more or less like influenced me in sort of ways. And it was mostly from the part of kindness. That's one of the things I picked out. But if speaking on the career basis, I honestly didn't have someone that motivated me so much that I would look up to and be like, oh, I wanted to be like this person. And it's really sad to say. It's really sad to say. But kindness was one thing that stood out for me. And maybe it's also because for me, I'd always wanted to make friends and just help improve people, just see that we had a more happy world, for example. So when I noticed a trait that connected to kindness, it just had a way of, it had a way of making me want to mirror under you in some sort of way. So I would say that for me, the two teachers who stood out for me were those teachers who were really, really kind. And when I mean kindness in even how they showed me how to do things. They might not have known enough most of us, they didn't know enough to show you enough, but the way they went about doing things in a kind way, those things were one of the things that really spoke to me and stood out for me back in secondary school.
Okay. So
so for me, I had lots of teachers and guidance that helped me. If I start mentioning their names, I'm not sure I'm going to, but two people really stood out for me, and those were my guardians, Mrs. Alaban, Mrs. Enyalonda. I struggled with English, and as God would have it, I'm a communication specialist now. I write every day. But back in secondary school, I struggled in English, and for you to get promoted to the next class, you have to pass English. But I struggled a lot. And your mid-semester or your mid-term exams or tests, you have to pass them, because once you pass those ones, you're sure you would have at least a D in your exam and all. But thankfully, my guidance saw my weakness and they organized private lessons for me. They helped me. And right now, I'm practicing communication specialist. So my guardian, one of them was even an English teacher, and she told me, Toyin, when you're sending me, even after school, when you're sending messages, no short form, nothing, writing full, I'll pay for the text message. And that way it just helped me. And now I'm very conscious. Like when I see people write in short forms, I'm like, it's just two more words. Like, why can't you add those two words or two characters to it? I know. So I would say they shaped me. I was lucky to have teachers that saw through me, saw my weaknesses. My class teacher, Mrs. Ladeng, they saw how timid and shy I was, and she took it upon her to like make me a baby. Up until now, I left secondary school 2009. That's about 15 years ago. But up until now, I'm still in communication with those people because they've been very instrumental to my life, to my career. They might have not known the seeds they were sowing back then, but it has helped me. And it has helped me to also relate with other people. So now when I see people struggling, I'm always willing to help them because I know how I got to where I am today is through God and the help of those people who held my hands and said, Toyin, I know your weakness and I'm willing to help you turn it into your strengths.
Thank you very much. Okay. Presley.
So I think for me, maybe one teacher stood out for me, and that was my my class teacher when I was in SS3. She was also my chemistry teacher as well, Mrs. Osuji. I never liked chemistry, right? And I struggled with chemistry. I was an average student in chemistry. But then she came in, and she had this teaching style that was very, very different from the previous chemistry teachers that we had. And not just myself, other students that were previously struggling in chemistry, they then started to do better. And I think it all boils down to her being very patient. She was very patient in terms of like explaining the concepts, and then speaking about her impact in my life personally. I really don't know what she saw in me. I think I was probably one of the smallest guys in class then, but she made me the class captain. And I think it was one of those moments where it kind of like boosted my confidence, because it just made me feel special, feel like, yeah, I can make an impact, I can do something different, because you are the smallest guy in the room, and yet she just saw me and deemed the fit that, yeah, you should be the class captain of this class, and coordinate the activities of the class when there are no teachers. And also it gave me that confidence boost. So I think she's the standout teacher for me. So yeah.
Well, thank you very much. This is where we speak about the impact of educators in the life of children. You know, from all you have explained, so your teachers held your hand with the little they had, because like Queen Ekanem mentioned, with what they had, you know, but they were able to guide you through, was able to hold your hand and say, you can do this. This is how you would do it. So this is the impact of educators in the life of the children. That is why at JUICE, we are looking at having educators on board, having teachers to come in, because they help in shaping children's life. They are the ones that know the strength of the students, because they interact with them on daily basis in school. So it's not just about academics again. They help them in shaping the young minds for emotional growth, you know, and help the child become very confident and improve in what they have to do. So it is very important that parents, educators especially, are part of our vision at JUICE, our mission to help children define their career paths. If these teachers have not come in to say, oh, you can do this, oh, you are good at this, you can, I'm not sure that you would have been able to navigate your way through secondary school to become better. That is why it is important that educators are part of our vision here at JUICE, because it is a learning ground. We learn and see how we can impact the life of children around us. So thank you very much for that question, and we would go over to the next question. Due to time, I would like to ask, looking back, you know, now this is years away from secondary school. So how did the Nigerian education system prepare you for workforce or for further education? And what changes would you advocate for? You know, there are lots of things that we have mentioned earlier on that how this was done, it would have been better. So I would like Tony to lead in answering this question. After Tony, Presley can go ahead before Queen Ekanem. Thank you.
Nigerian education system. Okay, it's made me tough. It's a survivor for the fittest kind of system, where you also, your soft girl life, you can show it, especially for me that went to a federal boarding house. I remember then, when after the meal as a junior student, when we are done eating, everyone would want to go out in groups so we can run, because the last person they catch, you're going to be their bait till night. So we would all run out together. So it kind of made me tough. And it made me ready for the economy, what we are currently going through, the third mainland traffic, everything. It's groomed me for that. And that's because I wanted to be groomed. Because there are some people that would go through this experience and it would be a trauma. So I wouldn't say everyone should go through the tough life experience because it's either makes or break you. But for me, it's made me. Um, Another adaptation I would like them to include is an inclusive education system, in the sense that then when we were in school, we had people that were slow learners, they had dyslexia and or autistic. So they were slow learners and we thought they were dumb, they were holodos and or pardon my language. But we thought they didn't, there was just, we would call them coconut head. There is just nothing in this one's head. And they got to repeat like a couple of times and all. But it was growing up, I got to understand that some children actually are slow learners or actually deserve to be taught in a special kind of way. So if the system can incorporate that and know the way Toyin would learn is not the way Queen would learn or the way Ada would learn, if they can just try and be more inclusive for every child, it would really help.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt. Please, if you join the call, please mute your mic. We're getting a lot of disturbance, and it's not possible to mute everyone automatically, right? So please mute your mic, so that everyone here can benefit from what the mentors are saying. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think for me, the Nigerian educational system, I think it just it builds resilience, right? So it makes you dogged. I mean, it also depends on which half you decide to stay on. So everybody goes through the same experiences, but some people take the positives out of it, and some people definitely take the negatives. So it's more of, I would like to encourage students here. We definitely know that the Nigerian education system is not the best. It's not the greatest, but there are still some positives that you can get from there. I'm not saying it's ideal, but that is what we're stuck with. So you just need to see the positive side of things. It makes you resilient. It makes you dogged. I feel you can strive in any environment if you can pass through the Nigerian educational system. Not just secondary school, also going into the university, especially those that would go into federal universities and all, you would definitely face a lot of challenges, but you just have to be positive, right? And those then in terms of things that I wish we could do better or change, there's a lot of things that we need to do. There's a lot of revamping that the educational system needs to undergo, because I feel like, and this is something I have a personal problem with the curriculum. There are a lot of subjects that are not really necessary, right? Especially when you are going into the university, for example. Why why is engineering 5 years? Why can't it be 3 years like what we have here in the UK? It's the same thing that people do. You find out that you've spent your first year as an engineering student doing things like biology. Like, why are you still doing biology? I'm studying electronics engineering and I'm doing biology. I'm doing general studies. I'm still doing chemistry. Chemistry might be important for those that are probably doing chemical engineering, but this is me doing MLA. I'm just giving an example, right? Like, you spend your first year doing things that you already did in senior secondary school. That's like a whole year gone already. So the system is, there's a lot of work to do in the educational system. I just feel that they need to do some reviews. They need to shorten down the timeline for some courses, to be fair, because it's not just if you compare yourself, you in Nigeria, to kids that are in places like the UK, the US, for example, you find out that those kids are more, they probably go further in life because they have an early start, their courses are a bit shorter. And case in point, for example, in my firm where I work now, we have this thing where we have what we call this apprenticeship program. So they actually encourage their secondary school leavers to come and apply and start working right after secondary school, and then they pay your fees. So what this does is that while you're schooling, you're also progressing into the firm. By the time they are graduating, they are probably on a manager grade already, and they're just graduating university. So you find out that kids that are around 21, 22 already are managers, and yourself, that you that are probably coming from back home, by that 22, you're just finishing university, you're just trying to get into a graduate trainee program. So it's like there's a lot of work to be done, and I just wish that they can adopt some of these policies. But overall, the educational system builds your resilience, makes you dogged, it has its positives. So, and I feel like everybody should just try and lean towards the positive sides and make it work for them.
Very much, Presley. Thank you for that. So that's why at JUICE, one of our initiatives is the internship and the open day, where children can early enough identify their area of interest and start having more knowledge about it. You know, that's why we have the internship and the open day, so that children early enough can broaden their scope about a particular field they're interested in. So you see, we are very intentional about these children, about these teenagers, and as we have different programs that helps them in defining their career path. So thank you very much. Because of time, I will just ask one last question so that we can go into the question and answer session, because I see that the children have a lot of questions to ask. So finally, I just say, what message would you like to pass on to these secondary school children regarding their career journey and future aspirations? What are those that message you would like to pass on to them that will help them, in defining their career journeys and future aspirations? So I'm going to go with Tony, then Presley, and then Queen Ekanem.
Okay, so my advice would be to take every subject serious, even the ones that don't seem important, like the agri, food and nutrition, clothing and textile. Take it serious, because this subject kind of foster an entrepreneurial spirit, and it's important that we understand that not everybody would go through the corporate path. Some people would end up being fashion designers. Some people would end up being good caterers. Some people would end up being content creators and anything, and that's very okay. Also, build meaningful and intentional networks. I wish I did that when I was in school, but I'm trying to do better now that I'm older. My longest standing friends are friends that are from secondary school, and they've supported me in ways which even I myself. And also note that relationships and networks are not just a take situation, but it's a give and take situation. So as you're receiving, be ready to also give or impact knowledge. When I first got my job, my first speech was edited by my friend from secondary school. And even if I can't give her back that value in terms of writing, then I could give her other values and all in terms of support and everything. Lastly, it's not too late to discover your passion. Research early, align with your efforts, pursue it wholeheartedly, and build on your passion. because most times when you're doing something you're passionate about, it no longer seems or look like a job or work. It looks like an hobby, and it's more like I'm making money from my hobby. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. So I think for me, I will just lean on to what Toyin had mentioned. Focus on your studies, take every subject serious. Parents as well, if you see where your child is struggling in any subject, you should probably take that initiative, sign them up for extra classes. At least that was what my parents did. I mean, when I got into senior secondary school, I wasn't really the best in physics for that mass. My very first result, I think that was SS1 first term. I flunked physics and further maths, and my dad immediately signed me up for um extra lessons. And before leaving school, like, I can boldly beat my chest that I was one of the best physics students in my before I graduated university, even down to writing my WAEC. So parents, they also have a role to play in their kids' development, where you see them struggling in any subjects, if possible, render them that assistance, sign them up for extra lessons, and just be involved, basically. Encourage them. It might be as little as incentives. Like, I remember when I was in uni, myself and my dad, we basically just had a deal: for every A or B that I got, it's going to give me 1,000 naira. That was enough motivation for me to kind of like be serious. Like, okay, yes, I know that, yes, for every A or B that I will get, my dad is going to give me 1,000 naira. And it made me to like sit up. So things like this, just little things to encourage the kids, and also the kids as well. Just be focused in school, and the sky will be your starting point. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, can I go on?
Yes, you can.
Okay, yes. So for me, first thing I'd like to say is education is the most powerful tool you can use to change the world. So take your education seriously. And it's very important for you to manage your time, to use your time diligently. Like, because things you would have achieved would take longer if you don't plan, if you don't have a proper organization, like trying to know, okay, if there's time for a certain class, an assignment has been given to you to do, prioritize those ones and set them out and get them done. And then again, even like Presley and Toyin had already mentioned something about apprenticeship, internship. I would advise this to parents to be deliberate about allowing their kids to have that experience outside of school, because what school teaches you is the theory, but outside you get to have the practical experience. And it's great that JUICE already has this on the board. So it will be very important for parents to, at least, even if it's for like 1 hour a month, let's say if there's so much going on for your child during like breaks, holidays, try to get around to the system, the work system, the places that your child is interested in attending, is aspiring to be in. Let them just get that chance to see how the work environment is. Even just observing, it would help to shape their path greatly, because education is one, classes is one, but the experience of life is so different. And then when it comes to another thing I want to speak about is on failure. One thing I want to emphasize is that, the only one mistake that you make is when you don't learn from the mistake you had already made. So after all of this has been said, it's not for certain that you won't still make mistakes after this. But the point is, do your best, give your best shot. And if you do not make it through giving that best shot, don't beat yourself up. Just try again. But the good thing is that you learned something from that experience. So that's what that's the three most important thing I would mention here.
Thank you very much. Thank you. it's quite an educative and informative session. So quickly, because of time, we'll go to the question and answer session. So I'm going to hand over to Ada to take the question and answer session. Over to you, Ada.
Thank you. I just want to say, please, if you're on this call or if your school, that you let your students join this call, because I can see like a girls' hostel here. Please, can there be a teacher or an educator monitoring them, because they are disrupting the session and they are just spamming the messages. It's not compulsory to be here. So if they must be here, this is part of what we're talking about. They have to be orderly, and they, it's for their future. So please, let's just take that into consideration. If there are any questions, I know that there are already 2 questions or 3 questions in the chat. 2 of them are specific. Well, one of them is specifically for Presley. But if there are any questions, please feel free to raise your hand. If you want to speak, feel free to raise your hand. We'll give you an opportunity to speak. If you do not want to speak, you can drop your questions in the chat and we will answer them. Also, just to mention, I know that the students in Enugu Center for Memories, we did not introduce you at the beginning. Our apologies. Welcomes the students at Center for Memories Enugu, and thank you for always joining us as always. And yeah, the first hand is up, and I think Damit Bey also dropped his or her message in the chat. So Damit Bey, if you would unmute, if that's okay, then you can ask your question. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for allowing me to speak. So my question is like, so what do you do in a case like you're good at music, like you want to be a musician, but you're mostly getting recognized for science, but music is what you want to do mostly? What should you do in that situation? Should you study science or should you just go with what you want?
Okay, thank you, Damit Bey. That's a very good question. Is there any other questions so that we can deal with some questions like together? But thanks for that. Is there any other question? I'll just read some of the a question from the chat, and then there's a question from the chat for Presley, and then we will then go ahead. Presley, how did you navigate from studying engineering to working as a financial consultant? And then the next question is from Lara Yeku. What role did your parent play in shaping your course to study from secondary school? What did you wish you listen? Do you wish you listened more to your parents while in secondary school? Oh, sorry, let me read exactly what she said, because what did you wish you listened more to your parents while in secondary school that made sense later in life, right? So that's a question. I think there's one more question as well from Lara, if I'm not mistaken. And then, okay, so those are some of the questions. How can a child mentor under your program? Moti, we will come to that question later at the end, but thank you for that. Nkemjika, please, if there are any questions from the children, feel free to also drop it in the chat, or if they would like to speak specifically. And as always, please make sure the questions are curated for what we've spoken about today. Any other general questions on anything, we are always happy to answer at Juice, but let's try to make sure it's about today. So Presley, because there's a question directly sent to you, I'm going to let you answer first. And then we will come to Toyin, we'll come to Queen, and yeah, thank you.
Okay. So how did I end up in financial risk after studying engineering, right? So maybe I'll just backtrack to my earlier years. So I came from a household where it was sciences or nothing. So by the time you are getting into senior secondary school, like you already know where you're going to sciences. So my eldest brother went into sciences, my immediate elder brother as well, he went into sciences, and then I also followed suit. But I had always been a numbers guy. I loved mathematics. I loved anything calculations. And to be fair, left to me, I wanted to do something. I wanted to do accounting. I wanted to do either accounting or banking and finance, but I followed suit into sciences just like my brothers. And then getting into science class, my dad actually wanted me to be a doctor, but I was very, very adamant because I think at that point I identified the subject areas where I kind of struggled, and I knew that going into the university I will struggle some more if I read a course like medicine or pharmacy because I never really liked chemistry. I wasn't I wasn't a fan of chemistry. Yeah, I became better when I had a new teacher in my SS3, but I felt it was too late. So I had already planned that trajectory in my head that, you know what, yeah, I can't read medicine because I'm not a fan of chemistry. So I needed to identify something that I could do. And it was then engineering. And so in terms of the kind of engineering that I wanted to do, I sought advice from a a cousin of mine, very senior, and he was reading. I spoke to him one day, like, "Oh, why are you studying university?" He told me he was reading electrical engineering, and he just gave me a brief overview, and it was then something I resonated with. I fell in love with it because like I said, I was a calculations guy. I loved the numbers, I loved maths, I was very good at physics. And so that was how I then decided to study engineering, particularly electronics and computer engineering. And then I go into uni. So I think in terms of now stumbling into financial risk, I would say it's by chance. I actually started off doing what I studied. So I was into IT for like a year, and from IT I got into like managed services. I actually looked at the name that asked me this question, and the name is very familiar. Because if I'm not mistaken, she was probably the HR in one of the firms that I worked with earlier in my career. But I was just there for a short while, 2 months. So maybe she probably doesn't know me. But yeah, so I started in IT, then I went into managed services, doing things around SAP. And then from there, I then got into my a graduate trainee for a consultancy firm. I started in IT strategy as well. And then there was like a shortage of jobs, shortage of projects in my department, and then they seeded us off to other departments to go and work. And I then stumbled on a risk management project, and from there I did my first project in risk management. I did my second one. By my third one, I was like, you know what, this is where I'm meant to be, because it just resonated with um what I always had a passion for. It had the numbers in there. It also had a bit of critical thinking, trying to come up with some solutions for clients. And so it just resonated with me. And from there, I spoke to my senior managers and I was like, I need to switch. I feel like I have found my niche. I have found where I wanted to be. And that was then approved after a while. And so that was how I then got into financial risk, basically.
Thank you, Presley, for that. And then I'm going to the question about being great at music, but also being good at sciences. I think I will leave Choi to, I have a lot of thoughts on that, but I'll let Choi answer first. And then we will go ahead.
Okay, so if I'm speaking on this, I would speak based on my personal experience. So I was a science student, but now I'm a commercial, that's marketing professional. But along the line, Ada can testify, I've tried a lot of businesses. I've tried makeup, I've tried acting, I've tried sewing, I've tried event planning, and all, but I'm still doing marketing and corporate communication. So it's a good thing that music is kind of like, I would say for me, I see music as it's an hobby, it's a talent that you're born with, a God-given talent that can be taken for you. That's for musicians, the ones that are actually good at it, is a talent that can be taken from you. And if we check some of the successful musicians in Nigeria, quote unquote, or they actually had an educational background. And no, I would say education is very important. And I feel music and science is something you can merge both, but you just need to find a balance and be sure that you can do both. But if you can't do both, I would advise you go. There are still courses around music, but please don't say you don't want to study, you want to go into music because people are telling you you are good in it. As a musician, there are still other things you need to learn. You need to learn the business of music. How do you make tunes? How do you promote your music? You would need marketing. And these are things that people can do themselves at the very beginning before they make the limelight. So, for instance, you release an album now, you need a graphics to promote your album. You need a marketing strategy. I would use, I don't know, I can't really place any musician now, but I'll use Funke Akindele as an example. She's an actress. Or Kemi Adetiba, whenever they release a movie, there is a whole marketing promotion around it. Don't forget Funke Akindele studied law and she's still acting also. And she can still practice as a lawyer while acting. So I think it's something you can combine, but you just need to be mentally smart and stable to be able to do both. So one doesn't suffer for the other. For instance, I was working in a bank and also still doing makeup artistry. All I needed to do was just, and it helped me because I also understood that being a makeup artist, there is the professional side of it. I don't just want to be that makeup artist that will go, I'm not time conscious. I don't know how to speak to my client. I'm just opening my mouth and speaking anyhow. I dress to a client's place looking all shabby and all. So there are classroom theories for all these things also. So please, I would advise you while trying to pursue your musical passion and all, also focus on the science. And luckily for you, you are also still good in science. So you can do both and balance it.
Thank you, Toyin, for that. Yeah, you've covered a lot of the thoughts I have on that. I'm going to just address that question as well before we move to Queen, because there's a specific question for you. So I always like to say that, and I think it's something we do in Nigeria subconsciously. We always want to be defined as one thing. Oh, she's a lawyer. Choi is a marketing specialist. This person is a this, right? The world, you have a long life by God's grace ahead of you. And in that long life, you're allowed to explore as many passions as possible. You've said you're good at sciences, which is an excellent thing. You know, I often say that some of the in quotes unluckiest people in the world are people who can do anything. They wake up today and they're like, I want to study astrophysics, and they go and they're good at it. Do they like it? Who cares? Who knows? But they're good at it. You know, so I think one thing to say about that is if you are good at sciences, sorry, 1 minute. If you're good at sciences, but you're also good at music, there's nothing that really stops you from doing both. In the American system, we have stuff where they say your major and your minor. So your major would be something, and then you can have a minor. That's in the American educational system. We don't have it here. But if I were to advise you, I would advise you to, number one, sit down, look at what's the career path in front of me. What can I do in quotes with sciences? And I love to balance the idea of passion with the idea of what can lucratively set me up for the future, right? If you're doing sciences, if you're doing, if you want to do sciences, if you want to be a guitarist or a musician, you have to realistically explore what your chances are in both of them. And number one, you either pick, or number two, you can indeed do both. The guy Fola David, I think that's his name, who is currently the world record holder for the biggest painting in the world, I think. He's Nigerian, but he's a medical doctor in Nigeria, right? So being one thing does not stop you from exploring the other thing, right? So just have that in mind. You don't have to be defined as a doctor alone. You can be a doctor who plays the guitar, who also runs marathons, and who also is involved in some charitable projects, and who does XYZ thing. Your life is not one thing. And please start to see that you can do many things. And there are so many opportunities, and it's okay to explore as many of them as possible. Okay, so I hope that answers your question in terms of what course to then choose, or whether to go into school to study, music, or whether to go into school to study sciences. Then that's a more nuanced question of, where you see yourself, what school you go to study, that course, because that's the truth. You also have to think about where you're going to study that course. Are you going to be in Nigeria, or are you going to explore opportunities outside of Nigeria? Those are many questions that are juice. We can help you to explore, right? But within the context of this conversation, please know that you can do everything and be anything as long as God gives you life and breath, So just have that in mind. So Queen, we have a question for you. We're going to start wrapping up as well, but it says, I have a question for Queen Ekanem. She says she likes making a lot of friends, but I want to know why communication was a hard thing, since she will have to be good at communicating with people to make friends. So.
Okay, thank you for that question. Before I delve into that question, I'm very particularly interested in that question that said, what role did your parents play? I would like to take that question too. But I don't think I said communication was difficult for me. I'm not sure I mentioned that, because it wasn't. I mean, in my own case, it was more of the academic side, because in my secondary school, I was more of the person who just wanted to make friends. I didn't know how fundamental education was until when I was about leaving secondary school. And I mean, thank God I was able to find my feet before I left. But for me, communication had been easy, and my mantra then was just make friends and be happy. And I think that that's what now connects to my work in well-being, in mental health, and how I've been able to connect it with housing, with socioeconomic possibilities. Let me not get too deep. Like just being able to connect it with housing and how people can live happier lives, because if you're unhappy, then you can't be effective in life. If you're unhappy, you can't be productive. So I had always been good with communication. I've been actually very intentional about it, not just communication, but making friends with people that we connected together. So if you were someone that I saw that I liked something in, I would be intentional about being friends with you. And my mom played a fundamental role. She was my mom would be my mom was the person who would, when she see a friend of mine visits me, she will look at you. If she doesn't like you, or she doesn't like the way you're dressed, be very sure you're not coming back to that house. In fact, she will show you by the time. She will just come in and tell you, I'm not around. And then you have to leave. Because when you sit around, and then she won't be so pleasant. She would just be like, oh, Queen is not around though. Or she would allow me to see the friend. Then after like 5 minutes, she will come back and be like, hey, Queen, go and buy me this thing. And then I've gone. I won't be back. I've not gone to buy anything. I'm literally maybe inside the room. I will not be back. So when you stay for a while, you don't see me coming back. Just know that you need to start going to your house. So that was something. Then just speaking about the role parents play, I think that was very fundamental, because my mom was very, very helpful in that regard for me. I was a very unserious child, and I don't want anyone else to follow that path. It's not a very good path. I mean, it's good that I found my way while navigating, but my mom was very intentional with that, because that thing about just giving gifts to encourage your child to do better was very helpful for me. I remember the first time I had an A in the university, my mom was like, oh, I'm going to buy you a BlackBerry phone. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Those things were so helpful for me because it just made me want to do more. And then again, there was also this thing where sometimes, some nights when because she wanted to ensure that I had the culture of reading at night. She would sometimes wake up to study her Bible. And then when she's reading, she would make me wake up at the same time and also read. So the fact that she was there also watching me and, paying attention to these things, it also helped me very well. And then even with the role of me, the point that I'm studying law, I would tell everyone that law was not the initial interest. I had always wanted to study English. That was just what I wanted to study because of my desire to just make friends and just make people happy. But my mom was like, no, you're going to have to study law first. You don't exactly know what you want to do. And thank God for JUICE, because JUICE will help shape your direction. You don't exactly know what you want to do. So you're going to study law. And I studied law. But somehow I found a way to navigate through these studies of law to connect to socioeconomic issues. And they now also go back to helping social change, like just helping to encourage well-being. Because if the laws are not right, how will people be able to have better opportunities to live well in the society? So these are like rare cases, but parents play a very significant role in helping their children to navigate life because they have seen, they've experienced it, and they can see what you cannot see, right? So there's all of that involved, and JUICE is the best place to speak to come to for guidance. Thank you.
Thank you, Queen, for that. Nkemjika, you said that there are questions from Center for Beverage. If you just type it in the chat so that we can wrap up very quickly. But just speaking on that question of parents as well, Toyi and Presley, please feel free to jump in. But I think you cannot speak to me for more than an hour without me speaking about my dad. Everything is my dad, because JUICE is here today because of my dad. I had a dad who is deeply passionate about my career, right? So as young as when I was a child, my dad wanted all his kids to be doctors. So he's like, all of you will be 5 doctors. And I was like, no, I'm studying law. And I insisted on law, and he saw that, I read a lot. I read a lot of books. I still do. He saw that whenever there's like maybe any of my siblings are arguing or something, or even him and my mom, if they disagree on something, I'll be like, Daddy, sit down here. Mommy, sit down here. Okay, tell me. And then after that, I'll be like, Daddy, you're wrong, or Mommy, you're wrong. So he saw really that passion and that interest in law. And so from a very young age, I remember whenever he would buy like Guardian newspaper on Saturday, we would sit down together. He'd be like, what do you think of this issue? What do you think of that issue? And he would always like take me to court, like literally, because court is, it's public. He would take me to court, and I would sit down in court like for the whole duration. When one session finishes, I'll go to the next one, sit down, listen, come back and tell him about the cases I heard about. As I was growing up in university, every time I would come back home on holiday, he would take me to a law firm, and he would always go and say, we don't know anybody, because I think sometimes parents think you need to have someone. We don't know anybody in that law firm. My father would just show up with me and say, I want my daughter to intern here. Can she come in? Can you teach her? Can she explore? And that's the role of parents. Even studying the course, I ended up studying maritime law. And my father saw an article on Guardian newspaper about the maritime industry, and he sent it to me. I remember he sent it by DHL and said, what do you think you can do about this? And I read it. I was like, oof, I don't like this. I want to be in this industry. And that made me study law. This is just to say that the importance of parents cannot be overemphasized. You need to work with your kids. Now, my father started off with, you must do this. But then over time, he saw my interest. He could understand my interest. And then his thing was to guide me into making sure I would be the best possible person in that field, right? So this is why when we do JUICE, we ask for parents to be involved, because at the end of the day, we can talk from now till tomorrow with the kids. And if the parents are like, never, we've had a few questions where the kids say, I want to study veterinary medicine, but my mother says, if I can study veterinary medicine, why can't I just do human medicine? That. And then someone said, oh, I don't want my child to be hungry. And again, sometimes our parents don't have all the perspective on, you know, what courses are or what life looks like there. And that's why JUICE is important. We want, number one, to show kids you can be a ton of things. You can go from engineering to financial consulting. You can be a lawyer that focuses on mental health. You can go from management, information systems to being a communication specialist. You can be a million things. But on top of it, we want to give them internship opportunities so that they can, okay, I want to be a lawyer. Let me go into a law firm to see what lawyers actually do, right? I want to study robotics engineering. What does that look like? How can I get practical experiences into these things? So just to conclude and say, parents, there's a lot of direction, you know, and I know sometimes just because of the harsh economic climate of Nigeria, it's hard to do it all. It's hard to be present for your child and to provide for them and to do, but honestly, it's a role we cannot abdicate, and we must strive all the time to be there, to be present, to listen, to guide, to direct, to support. And, you know, it's great that you have JUICE. Just by showing up here every Saturday, you already have that support. You're already supporting the child. You're already guiding them. You know, by connecting with us, I'm now answering the question on how you can get mentorship. Our number is on the chat. Salome, please drop it again. You can connect with us and give us like a background of your child, what they're interested in, and how we can support them. We've had about 4 or 5 one-on-one mentorship with young Nigerian secondary school students, trying to guide them into what courses to pick in university, what university to even choose, and, you know, even potentially scholarship opportunities in and outside of Nigeria. So yeah, so the role of parents is important. And if you're a parent here today, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up for your child. Thank you for advocating for your child. If you're a secondary school student here today, everything will not resonate with you. Maybe you don't agree with everything or you don't care, but I hope you pick one thing. You know, I hope you take one thing home. And even if it's one thing you change, even if it's one thing you improve, you know, you're already in a better position for tomorrow. Salome, if you could please share the screen very quickly. But yeah, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you to the parents who showed up. Thank you to the students. And I'm just going to quickly talk about the next programs we have coming up. So like I said, JUICE runs this virtual program every 2 Saturdays, but you can also connect with us for one-on-one mentorship. You can connect with us to potentially place your child in internships. We're rolling out our internship program soon, so that's something exciting. Connect your child to internships they can do to learn more. And then, of course, there's a career fair, which by God's grace is coming up next year, where your child can just walk into a hall and speak to any professional. What do you do? Why is this interesting? How much money can I make if I'm doing this? Will I be comfortable in future? No question is off limits, you know, so we plan on having that. So in terms of what we have coming up next 2 weeks, we have a session on how to position yourself for global university scholarships. We have Chisom Amalunweze, who got a scholarship into 4 of the top US universities. So she's going to come and talk about that. You know, how do you position yourselves? And if you're in JSS1, JSS2, JSS3, this is an excellent thing to attend, because you don't want to wait till you're in SS2 or SS3. You need to start early to position yourself
Okay.
rather, for this. Please mute your mic. And then the next thing we have is, please, next session. Next slide, rather. Yes, and then the next slide is a career spotlight. We have one of our leading Nollywood actresses. If you've watched Ajoche, if you go to Terra Culture, and you watch some of those Fela series, Fela, I can't remember the name for it, but she's a leading Nollywood actress in Nigeria, Chika Uche Elumelu, and she'll be speaking on her journey. And I find her deeply fascinating because Uche was the head girl in Queen's College. I attended Queen's College when I was in school. She was the head girl. She was studying sciences. She was always top of, not just the class, top of our whole set. And for some reason, when I found out she was in acting, I'm like, oh, wow, how do you go from, Presley went from engineering to financial world. How do you go from the sciences to now being an actress? So If you're interested in that, if you're interested in acting, if you're interested in that career, and also if you're interested in learning, you know, how profitable it is, how lucrative it is, what does her life look like, then this is a session you want to attend. So yeah, closing remarks. I just want to say thank you again to, first of all, our speakers. Thank you, Salome, for excellent hosting. You've been really amazing. Thank you, Presley. Thank you, Toyin. Thank you, Queen Ekanem, for showing up, for sharing your perspective, for, you know, for wanting to help, you know, students today to do better and to do things differently. We hope as well that, you know, even as you've like, you know, poured into them, that, you know, by God's grace, you're poured into and replenished as well. So thank you to every parent who is here and every student who showed up. Thank you for your wonderful and engaging questions. And if you have any questions, if you have anything to, you can connect with us on social media. And our number is in the chat, so you can always get more support if you need it. So yeah, thank you everybody for being here, and have a lovely, lovely, lovely Saturday and lovely weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.